Welcome to the fourth attempt at the inaugural podcast, Bub N Pop. I'm Pop. That's Bub. We might have a special appearance by world famous theatrical actor Josh P. Paff Check.
Paff Check, Paffers, whatever you want to call him.
Podcast is about fun. It's about fun on movie reviews, about fun on current culture, politics, whatever pops into our little skulls here. But I think before we get started, we wanted to talk today about the tax collector.
Tax Collector starring Shia LeBeouf and, what was it, Bobby, what's his name?
Bobby Soto.
Bobby Soto.
We're gonna use a little share screen here right now. So there you go. That's the IMDb for the tax collector. The poster, for those of you that are into that artwork, is
very Sicario 2.
But it's not as busy as Sicario 2, but it's like, it would have been a good warning to have seen this poster before I paid $7.99 to, you know what, it's always a giveaway is when it says from the creator of Training Day and End of Watch.
Well, that's not a new thing. They've done that for so many movies where it's like, look at every Christopher Nolan movie. From the director, the producer of The Dark Knight and Inception.
And you know what? Here's my other problem with the poster. They both got M16s, AR-15s. I think any self-respecting gang member carries a different kind of arsenal of stuff, like AK-47s and something. It's a little
gold-plated,
too dated. Their weapons are dated.
Well, no, that's definitely photoshopped. They photoshopped in those guns.
So the poor tax collector suffers from a couple of things. And while we're on screen share here. There he is, our lead character, and that's what you give.
Oh, he is pretty.
He's a pretty boy, and I told you, and you don't find a lot of him on there, but he's not.
Yeah, he's a new guy.
Yeah, he's not. Well, he's not that young. I mean, he's been around for a little while, but I think he. This one picture right here, that's way too pretty boy for me.
You got to get over that thing of like thinking that pretty boys can't play.
You know who should have been, if they were going to do Bobby Soto, you know what they should have cast was our friend, your wannabe stepbrother, Alex Rangel. I should pull up Alex Rangel, man. He would be awesome in this. So, anyhow, that's how we started the podcast, was to talk about the tax collector. So
yeah,
we had some notes on it. Bobby Soto as David. He had a part. I did find that he had a part in Narcos Mexico.
He did. Who did he play?
What was he?
I don't know.
He played a Mexican narco. Shia LeBeouf as Creeper. And my note here says he got real tattoos for the movie.
Yeah, those tattoos are real. He's got those for life. I mean, another instance of method acting just gone off the rails.
Yeah, but he's the best part of the movie, yeah?
He is. He's, without question. Then they cut it short. They cut his character short. This will be a spoiler-filled podcast. So if you haven't seen it yet, stop it right now. But I feel pretty comfortable ruining it and saving everyone the money from renting it, despite the fact that it was the biggest box office opening in recent memory with all the COVID stuff. It was like 300-something thousand or something like that.
Yeah, the budget was 30 million budget. Yeah. So they got a few coin they have to make up. The other note I had was, let's just go through the cast here really quick. Mm-hmm. Jose Conejo Martin as Conejo. Local LA YouTube rap artist. He's a friend of David Ayer. I found that out. And he's sort of an archetypal character that gets way out of control. Cynthia Cameron is Alexis, who I think, is a nice, pretty match for pretty David Soto. And then we get into some stuff that's really weird here. George Lopez's uncle Luis, or Louis, depending on, what day it is and how you feel about it. But here's the one that got really past me, and I didn't realize until later, because there's been so many years. El Padilla Carrillo as Jan.
From Predator?
From Predator.
I did not know that.
In that movie.
I didn't know that.
Homegirl's aged a little. But, man, how the mighty have fallen. You gone from Predator, where you're immortalized with Arnold and the rest of the gang, and now you're playing bit parts in the movie. And of course, the guy who I didn't realize who he was at the end until I went, oh, that's Jimmy Smits
Yeah.
as the Wizard. And
What did you think about that name as
Wizard?
the Hefe's name?
It was stupid. Everybody's got a nickname, right? Everybody's got a nickname, except David. We call him David the whole way. And then when we get to Jimmy Smits at the end, yeah, it's sort of weird. I was like, Wizard, really?
Yeah, they probably filmed it all in like an hour. Yeah.
Anyhow, so there's also, but the real saving grace of the flick is Shia LaBeouf. He plays a guy named Creeper, who is what's known as a güero in Spanish lingo, which means, it's like an endearing term for whitey. It's not like a gringo. It would be sort of the opposite of gringo. Gringo is sort of an effacing term, and güero is a term of endearment. And everybody loves Creeper, and he sort of is the only real acting chops in the whole movie. But
was there any guys growing up that you knew? Because it's like you grew up. What would you say you broke it down the other day for me? It's like the Glass Elk Park kind of area, like the different. Like, did you know any güeros? Or were you the Creeper back in the day and we don't know it? It's part of your past.
Yeah, there was more people that and it's really weird that I went to a junior high school called Washington Irving Junior High School, which is down in the like San Fernando Road and Fletcher Drive, if you're familiar with Los Angeles, which is getting towards the LA River, which would be called Frogtown and Toonerville. And then, if you run East LA, it's sort of you get adjacent Boyle Heights, Lincoln Heights, with East Los Angeles. So the idea of Mexican gangs is something that is really evolved into something horrid. It started out as affinity and social gangs, because remember the Zoot Suit era and those kind of things, where you had that part of town was Jewish and Italian and Mexican and everything. I went to school, the neighborhood that I grew up in, I went to school with a real mix, and mostly Hispanics, but there was a lot of blacks and a lot of Italians, and so it's sort of a real hodgepodge of it. Anyhow, the gangs back then that you would identify now, like Toonerville, they were a little edgy, but they were more affinity gangs and more developed out of a sort of an area and a type. And then when the drug cartels got really crazy in Mexico and infiltrated LA back in the, going from El Chapo and the last Narcos Mexico, these gangs exploded into something really vicious. And there are, according to what I'd read, there are at this point 38 identifiable big-time gangs backed up by big-time cartels that will kill you with no problem. So now when you get into a movie about that, which is The Tax Collector, it really was sort of a boring movie in that it could have been Italian guys in Brooklyn in 1960, right? It had sort of a dated feel to it to me. And that part got to me because I thought, man, they use the character Conejo as this like Aztec warrior god, and then there was some really wild stuff, right? In the thing.
Yeah, Shia gets his head stomped in.
Yeah, and then George Lopez gets decapitated and put into a little cozy bag.
Cooler, yeah, a little tailgate cooler.
Cool.
Yeah.
But they also, this guy was like doing a chicken sacrifices, and there's this one scene where he does all chicken and he's the guy that's coming in to take over from we didn't do a good setup here. The Uncle Luis.
No, you're overthinking it.
Uncle Luis and George Lopez, David is his nephew, and we come to find out later that Jimmy Smits is his dad, who's in prison, and they're controlling all of East LA. All the old vatos are controlling East LA, and he's living the life. He's got a pretty wife, he's got a big pretty house, blah blah blah, and then within 30 seconds it all turns to shit, because now the new people are in town and they want to take over, which is a common theme in gangster movies, right? Mm-hmm. The problem is that the way they choose to embody this in this guy, Conejo, is pretty cartoonish. Would you?
Yeah, it was like a Michael Bay movie. That's what I took. Like, even from the opening scene when you got Bobby Soto, they give the setup. This is me. This is my boy. We're here to collect the 30% from all the gangs in this area. If you fuck with us, we're gonna, Creeper's gonna pull your skin over your head or give you a Colombian necktie or something like that. But even that whole scene when they got a shot, they're sort of tracking him walking around the dude, threatening the new guy on the block, and it just felt very, like I said, like a Michael Bay movie. He's like, "You mess with us, you die." Yeah.
Yeah, but this one scene right here with Shia LaBeouf is probably the most legitimate. You know, they're shaking this guy down, and then he pulls out a gun. But outside of that, it was really hard to not laugh at it.
Well, it's like I'm over, like, and like you said, David Ayer knows Bobby Soto, and he gave him a shot at acting, which it's like I don't got a problem with that. It's like David Ayer's done that plenty over the years, where he's put guys he's grown up with, like in the movies that he's made. But the guy just couldn't act his way out of a bad situation or whatever, however you want to phrase it. Like he was just bad.
Yeah, he was.
He just really wouldn't. He was trying too hard.
Yeah. So anyhow, what else was well, Conejo was messed up, but there was some fun. There was some scenes that sort of typified all of it. Where when you talk about the one where he's doing chicken sacrifices, and David Ayer, who's a great script writer, right? I thought what compounded it is the script was sort of I don't know, it was sort of predictable, right?
He's always had this thing where he's done sort of the same themes in all of his movies. He just sort of rearranges the pieces. He does something different. You got Training Day, which is like, the rookie cop, being exposed to it was essentially just the Rampart scandal, all sort of boiled down and condensed into this one unit of guys. Yeah. Then you go from that, you got Harsh Times, about two guys growing up in East LA, just over the course of like a week kind of a thing. It's always the same story with him. It's just either following the cops or the bad guys, or a mix of both.
But there were memorable lines from Training Day that we all use, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it would have been better if they had thrown like a Macy Gray scene right in the middle of Tax Collector. They just had Macy Gray just come in and do.
Well, for people who don't know this, it's all Tax Collector takes place in the same universe as Training Day and Harsh Times, I believe, because there's recurring characters in this that were in the other movies, played by the same actors, and they're playing the same characters. The one guy, I can't remember his name, but his character's name, Bone, I think, or Bones.
Yeah.
He comes back. He's the guy when Hoyt comes back to, take out Alonzo, and, he's guarding the gate with Terry Crews, and he's just smoking a blunt, and then he stands aside. That's the same character in that one, I believe that's in.
It's like that, man.
Yeah, it's like that.
It's like that. Yeah. We got your back, homie.
I'm putting cases on all you bitches.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like that. There's one line in there that's just so preposterous. It's he goes to complain to somebody. I can't even remember who he was. David Soto is his character, or Bobby Soto. David is going to complain to somebody about the fact that his day just got turned upside down by the Aztec warrior gods who are coming in to take over their turf. And he turns around and he goes, "He's trying to change the structure." Like,
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that line. It's just how he was delivering it was the problem.
It's a long way from "we got your back." Bounce up out of here, Jake. We got your back, homie.
Yeah, it was just all the preposterous left turns that it took too, because it's like the minute that there was any kind of momentum with the movie, you knew it was bad kind of right away, but then there was just brief glimpses of what the movie should have been during a couple of parts, and obviously like the best parts were Shia, but he decides, we're gonna take on a street war with this guy. We're just gonna fuck this guy. Let's just go head to head with him. You got all your, like, Shia's just getting in his face. He's getting all teary-eyed. He's like, "You got writers here, man. They're willing to have your back." And you're like, okay, this is, this might go somewhere. And then they all get wiped out 5 seconds later because they decided right after George Lopez got kidnapped from his auto shop, they decided to go hold court back at the auto shop where they know they're going to be, where the guy knows they're going to be.
Yeah, there was a lot of GPS location problems for the various gang members. They were dialed in. When there was just a shortness of lack of context on stuff.
Where was the one time and where were the cops during the whole these parts in the movie where they have these heat level style shootouts in the middle of
oh yeah,
wherever it was they were. Yeah. Where are the cops?
It would have been
the cops.
They had all the ranchero guys, the ranchero guys come in with their cowboy hats and automatic weapons and level
the paisas or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. The cowboy hats and the rodeo belt buckles and all that stuff.
Their bandanas, cool looking bad guys. But there was this whole thing where at the end, when everything's gone to shit and his wife's been killed. I mean, we're giving away everything here. His wife's been killed. that he goes to the local African American gangs in they were sort of chilling.
Bloods. He went to the Bloods.
What are you doing here? So he goes to the Bloods and explains to them what's happened, and in a moment of moral outrage, they rise up and go, we got to do something about this shit.
Because he's a good guy. Because he's a good guy.
So he's a good guy. So they mount up and go find the whole shooter team of Ranchero guys. They go find them like in 30 seconds, and all those guys are there having a break from shooting up things, and they have a big shootout in a room about 9 by 12.
At like a Motel 6 or something like that.
Motel 6. Yeah. They walk into like a sleazy Fleabag motel. They walk into a room at that motel
where all the enforcers for Conejo were all held up.
All the enforcers for Conejo.
And they don't explain how they found him either.
And they all have automatic weapons, and the guys who are coming to kill him all have automatic weapons. So it's almost as bad as the scene in Saving Private Ryan where they walk in and the Germans are on the other side of the wall and the wall falls down, which I guess was a true story, right? The brick wall falls down and now they're all standing there with stuff. And then somebody finally decides to pull the trigger. But in this one,
Ted Danson.
Ted Danson, my man.
Not just somebody, Ted Danson.
Sam Malone pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
But in
and this was post blackface Ted Danson.
These guys didn't have the benefit of these guys didn't have the benefit of space, but everybody was shooting at everybody, and only the guys from the Conejo's gang got killed, and the other guys.
Even though everyone's firing at point blank from like 10 feet away with automatic weapons. And they've got this dumb slow-mo shot.
Right, yeah.
And then you got Bobby Soto standing there. It was like Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder when he's just being preposterous, just spraying this M16 one-handed. But it's all slow-mo. And yeah, only Conejo's guys got clipped.
And you know what? I mean,
none of Bones' guys.
If there's a gold standard on the use of automatic weapons to kill people in movies, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger in Raw Deal.
Scarface. The end of Scarface.
And he's got rocket launchers and everything else. Arnold's just got a little Uzi, and he does so much damage with a Buick Riviera and an Uzi, and he shoots out the windshield at point blank range while he's driving the car. None of the glass or anything ricochets and hits him. Then he reaches up in like a masterful yoga move. He reaches up and kicks while he's driving, kicks out the windshield, and now he's going to the sand pit where all the bad guys are. And he's picking them off with an Uzi, like a sniper shot from like 60 yards away. So that, beat that. And they tried and it couldn't work. But there was other stuff that was really weird about it too. But Shia LaBeouf, that guy, between this and Fury and something else I saw him in that was released here recently, he's sort of to me the Edward
Honey Boy and Peanut Butter Falcon, which I haven't seen, but everyone's said really good things about.
I watched part of it. It was pretty interesting. It was pretty good. Oh, by the way, tag note: I watched yesterday The Lighthouse on Prime Video.
I have no interest.
It is bizarrely interesting, and
that's what I heard.
The Twilight guy.
Robert Pattinson, the new Batman.
He's actually become a decent actor. I mean, it's just him and William Dafoe in the movie for an hour and a half. It's just the two of them.
Pattinson's the new Batman, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's stop doing Batmans. Let's just stop. Mm-hmm. Let's just stop doing Batmans. Let's stop doing Marvel. There just is too much of it. There's too much, and it's.
I don't know that's one thing I was thinking about earlier. Is like I grew up with I have memories of going to see like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And I remember we went, I don't know if you remember, but it was like a church going thing where it was like 10 or 15 of us. We all saw it at that old theater in Pasadena. Like they're spectacles, like they're a lot of fun to see, but it's just like nowadays everything is just like quicker to make and a lot easier. And while there's been a lot of technical proficiency and a lot of like some standout moments, like standout movies with like those franchises, it's just gotten so oversaturated that how do I phrase this? Okay, so it's like anyone who's grown up in high school, especially me, you knew the sect of nerdy ass kids who talked about nothing but comic books. They wore the t-shirts, and it was always ironic that guys who were really overweight with paunch t-shirts were wearing like Captain America shields and stuff like that. Guys who were like super overweight, but the point is, I'm like, with the amount of like Marvel movies and stuff that's like come out, it's just been so much of it. Television, like all this stuff. And again, there's a lot of great stuff, and that's what you're into. That's what you're into. But I guess what I'm trying to get at the end of all this is that I don't know. I feel like people have gotten soft, and those nerds that I'm talking about have multiplied overnight. There's just a lot more of them. There's just something about that where I'm like, there's so much of this comic book stuff in our culture that this is more of what people are into now for some reason. This is a lot more of like what the masses want. And I just feel like, I don't know, people have gotten softer because of it. Every day looks like, day 27 at Comic-Con or something like that.
Part of me says, I think you're more in tune to it than I am. Part of me says, is it that, or is it that these huge media companies have paid a fortune for the rights to these things and they have to make their money back? So the saturation is driven by economics as much as anything else. And now we're gonna redo Batman again. Why? Because you know what? Because we can, and we can make money at it.
Yeah.
Rather than there's some kind of thought of, wow, we should do a Batman movie. I don't know that any of the stuff out there right now that is out there is just for fun. It seems to have acquired this whole depth of social commentary that, with Black Panther came out and that was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It was really interesting.
It was solid.
And I had Black friends who said, I waited forever to see a superhero movie with people that look like me. So I get the racial implications of race and fairness in this type of
But then you got the white people in the back row screaming louder than they are, talking about how great it is, and then all of a sudden they're...
But then you have what's her face that played she's in a Nissan commercial now, the gal that won, Brie Larson, who is now a superhero, and it's like
that was one of the most boring movies I've seen.
It's like
Captain Marvel.
And so what? This is, or Gal Gadot, who is the most boringest person to listen to on the planet. All right, she's an archetype, and she's there. Okay, great body. Sorry, that's all that's there, and that's the only reason it's there. But now we have to look at her as really standing up for women, and I really was great because it made me feel good, and I wanted to. I'm like, yeah, let's just stop altogether and not do these for a while and let things rest. But where do we go with this? Oh, I was the Lighthouse. Okay, if you haven't seen The Lighthouse, then this won't make sense to you. But for those of you who have seen The Lighthouse, I think the send up with the movie is that don't drink a lot of alcohol while you're stranded at a lighthouse. It doesn't turn out well. Just don't go blitz drunk, especially with Willem Dafoe in a lighthouse. Yeah. And two, don't stare into the lighthouse light. It could go badly for you. So. Yeah, so what else is out there that we can trash right now, since we sort of skimmed over? We could do an hour and a half on everything that was wrong with the tax collector.
Well, I think you should always tag the end of these with current events, so anything standing out in the news, which today or in the past 4 years has been damn near everything. But so we've got Kamala Harris as the VP pick, and then you were talking about that a little bit.
You know what? I despise Trump, and if that means you're going to immediately tune this podcast off or you want to slam us, have at it. I mean, he's indefensible. I don't have any problem with Kamala Harris, and she's gotten elected to statewide office in California 3 times, and I think she's a good choice. I have no issues with her, and I have no issues with Biden. If the Republicans were running a serious candidate who wasn't a lunatic, I would probably seriously consider voting Republican. But in this case, it's just we have to get Trump out, and that is, we could do a serious podcast on all the reasons that Trump could get out. But I don't care what your politics are. If you continually back somebody who is a piece of shit as a human being, you will eventually end up having to own. It's the Pottery Barn thing. You bought it, you own it, you broke it, you own it. You own Donald Trump now, Republicans. You own him because you chose to sell your soul to him, and you deserve whatever you get. And that's my opinion, and I'm not straying from it ever. I don't care how many abortion rights, and I've got more credentials in the abortion, anti-abortion movement than anybody. I was the president of 2 crisis pregnancy clinics. And that, I'm probably not building up our viewership here with some of this, but I don't care. I really don't care. If you want to act like a reprobate as a human being, then you are somebody I don't want around. I don't care what your politics or your policies are. And I think it's the worst evil. I think when people say, yeah, but the Democrats are all progressives and liberals, and they'll turn, and California is experiencing the problems of what progressive politics do with San Francisco and Los Angeles just really under siege right now with homeless people and stuff. I get all that. I will take that over somebody like Trump, who is unpredictable, a narcissist, malignant narcissist, and who knows what's going to be the next stupid thing that he does. And I'd rather deal with people that I disagree with than that I have some confidence are rational and decent human beings, as opposed to somebody I'm positive is not a decent human being. And maybe he's got points of view that I might tend to agree with. So F him.
You know what's scary is that there's a couple friends of mine that I know who are poo-pooing who the VP pick was, and a couple of them said, I'm just not even going to vote. And I kind of had a mini heart attack when they said that. I'm like, you can't do that. And they wanted to give me all these reasons of why they didn't want to, et cetera, so on and so forth. And I said, I kind of boiled down the election to just my everyday man's opinion as someone who tends to defer to the judgment of more politically, savvy people to explain things to me. But I told him, like, you got to see it like this, that this whole Trump presidency is like a night out at the bar with all your friends. All of you got way too hammered, and the bar you went to, the bouncer that was there was kind of an asshole who knew too many people personally at the bar, and he let way too much shit slide. Everything got out of control, and then he just wasn't doing his job. So the management finally said, okay, we're going to bring in the night shift guy. He comes in. He's kind of a dickhead, but he focuses on his job, and he kicked everyone out. And then the management said, okay, we just need everyone out of here and come back in like 4 hours. We just got to clear it out. And then that's what this election is.
Yeah. I had another analogy that I've used with people who are Trump supporters. I said it's like it's like the old Western movie, like Unforgiven, right? Where you want law and order in the town, so you hire the guy who is a former criminal. In Trump's case, he's a total criminal. I mean, from a business standpoint, the guy has screwed over more people than Carter's got pills. But what you do is you hire the guy who is ruthless and ruthless in winning, right? And you bring him in to get rid of all the, there's another one, Silverado. Did you ever see Silverado? Mm-hmm. So you bring in the, the guy, and Little Bill is Gene Hackman's character in Unforgiven, right?
Oh, okay,
he's
yeah.
Ruthless. He's ruthless. And he holds down law and order in the town, but he himself is ruthless and has a horrid past. So you hire that guy to hold down the law and order in the town, and then he starts shooting the townspeople. Right. So, that's my thing with Trump is you thought he's a fighter. He's going to stand up for the Supreme Court nominations. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. You bought it. And now here you are. And the whole pandemic thing could have been really, really it could have been clamped down on really early if Trump hadn't done what Trump does. So if that isn't enough to convince people that this guy is in my mind, bordering on an existential problem for the world, that you want to go ahead and roll the dice for another 4 years and see what he does when somebody lights off a dirty bomb in Atlanta, and see what Trump does or doesn't do, because he says, I talked to Putin and he says it's not him, and all that just rhetoric and bullshit that comes out of this guy. That's what you want, because you're so afraid that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to give money to poor people, or they're going to forgive student loan debt, or they're going to say medical care is something that maybe should be more proliferated. I'm not saying those things are all great plans. They economically have a lot of problems with them. But that's your big worry, is that trying to do things to better humanity is a way more of a threat than me. I don't want to pay more taxes, so I'll take Trump rather than pay more taxes. And I like the tax cut, by the way. I thought it turned out good for me. But dang, really? So anyhow,
and then the way he's running the campaign, I just can't believe he doubled down on that same tactic he had with Obama. It was like, was she really born here?
Yeah.
Is she really from here? And then even people was like, certain news outlets were like, more conservative ones were like saying stuff like, well, she is from here, but her parents are immigrants. So, and they're saying stuff like, what kind of ideologies is she going to import from overseas? And it's like, Jesus.
It's hard to argue against a white supremacist understanding when everything is put through a filter of, we are the real Americans, we are the real culture, and anybody that comes in and tries to do something to mitigate that or change it is a communist or a liberal or whatever. And they get all whacked out on that, rather than, everybody here is an immigrant, and everybody here is it's just bizarre to me. Speaking of culture, back to our screen share today. Speaking of culture, where were we on?
Oh, there we go.
You've got what I thought was going to last a little longer, but all of a sudden Cardi B's WAP is like, I wanted to invite her on our podcast because I thought it would be so cool.
Yeah, she'll do it.
And we'd immediately be famous. But I don't think the thing, it's not a big deal anymore, right? Now we got Russell Brand commenting on it and everybody's pissing and moaning at each other. But I don't think that the thing is still a hot item. It lasted for
it's gone.
I said, like,
you were absolutely right when you were the one who told me that this thing existed, and you said, "Watch what's going to happen. You're going to have all these people holding this thing up and backing it and saying it's such a liberating freedom of expression about sexuality and all this stuff." When you actually watch the song and see how preposterous it is, it's
Russell Brand looks good though, doesn't he?
It was like a fake video. It was like the video was like the female equivalent of Al Pacino in Tropic Thunder doing that song, "I Love That Pussy." Like, it was the exact same thing. It was the exact same thing. Like, that thing was made as a joke, and then that movie's like 10 years ago. And you fast forward and someone's doing it for real, and you have a bunch of people saying, like, this is one of the most liberating artistic expressions of sexuality ever. The opening shot is what of a fountain of this big breasted, like cherub, squirting out water from her nipples like that. Like, that's the opening shot.
It was lactating.
And then the opening line is, "There's some whores in this house."
No, that's a sample from another guy.
It doesn't matter. It's just the lead in. "There's some whores in this house."
Yeah, no, she's I think she's doubling down because she probably deserved an Academy Award nomination for her work in Hustlers.
You got to send me
that was an amazing movie.
You got to send me that Russell Brand thing. It's pretty great.
Well, I just put it up there, but
I'm just like trying to read the link myself when I have a minute.
Russell looks good. Russell looks good. That'd be like, he's not far from what it would look like if I did my shirt open, grew a beard, and pulled my hair back.
He's in LA right now. It's hot. He's just trying to film it.
Trying to
stay out of the heat.
Yeah, but and not to sound like an old white guy here, but what is the difference between Cardi B's celebration of sexuality and Donald Trump's celebration of his misogyny? What is the difference?
It's the same thing.
Why is she getting a pass and he's not? Not that I want to give him a pass. He's a piece of crap, but all of a sudden, which goes back to my concern about the future of the country is that there's, and I hope Biden and Harris win, and I hope Biden, I do believe Joe Biden's a good man. I know a lot of people have problems with him. Listen, that guy has been around for a long time. He's not a stupid idiot. And I know people who were in the campaign. I know somebody personally who was involved in Hillary Clinton's campaign, and there were tons of mistakes made by Hillary's campaign, tons. Or Donald Trump is just a joke footnote. Biden's people will not make those mistakes. They're a much different crew and a lot smarter people. But it amazes me that people want to, cry right now about that. Oh, Biden's not Bernie, whatever. Okay, you want Donald Trump for 4 more years? Go for it. So the other side of that is, if we keep doing this and we keep polarizing to the point where we say on the white supremacist side, oh, Donald Trump was just boy talking in the locker room about grabbing women's pussies. I mean, come on. And then you got on the other side, now you got Cardi B with what is basically a, I don't know, Playboy After Dark or whatever. It'd be like a Cinemax or Cinemax, video that you would have shown 20 years ago would have been, everybody would have gone crazy on it. That's somehow rational and it's part of a social commentary that we all need to listen to. And it's like, both of you guys need to get your heads out of your asses and let's stop with the personifying of every damn thing that goes on.
If that's the type of shit you like and you're into it, that's fine. If you're loose like that with your sexuality, fine. That's what you're into, but it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, but don't turn around and tell me it's like, this is a milestone moment in culture. And this is something that we have to drop everything we're doing and listening to a girl talking about stuffing her snatch in some guy's face and what was it, swiping it like a credit card. Fuck off. It's just like that Al Pacino song. Like, I can't believe no one's posted that and say it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And then when they parodied it in the movie because of how preposterous and gross and stupid it was. This is no different. It's the exact same thing.
Anyhow, it's back to the meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Unless this society starts understanding that there's got to be a middle ground, that we can all be a little bit, what's the definition of compromise? Is everybody's a little bit disappointed.
Yeah.
If you compromise and everybody walks away a little disappointed. If the idea is that there has to be, some complete flipping, which I will say the Republicans started that. They started it with Newt Gingrich, and it culminated in Donald Trump. That now we're in power, and we're gonna force everything down your throat, and we're seemingly, a year away or two from Handmaid's Tale, where we're just going to have a Puritan society because we're going to, get all the sins in. Or here's your other alternative: we're going to have Cardi B be in charge of everything, and she's going to run for president, and we're going to let the kids that have been oppressed and grew up hard scrabble in the ghetto and make music videos now. We're going to hear from them because they have gathered a moment. It was like a friend of mine, and we'll really get slammed now if this ever gets out big enough.
You got to stop overthinking it. People got their
but here's the one too. I had a friend who got a doctorate, and it was a musicology doctorate, which is that's a legitimate degree, but his was on the the life of Tupac Shakur, and I'm like, Thug Life, it's great, and I'm like going, yeah, Tupac was there. He was there for a moment. He was interesting, but whatever. It's not groundbreaking. There was nothing groundbreaking.
I think it was. But that's a whole side conversation. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe
I've had people explain it to me who are, that's a part of their culture and they're growing up. And it's like, even my friend Vic, him, has explained it to me as well. And it's like,
is Vic a thug?
Vic's not a thug. No.
But yeah, there's part of it to me that we put way too much. We put way too much into the moment, and it's become so wired into making money that I'm not trying to say Cardi B's any less of an artist than anybody else, but I am saying that it is all driven by understanding how the machine of media, social media works, and how you can make a bloody ass fortune at it. I don't know, I don't know people who were artists before. It was very difficult to get your stuff out, and there was a lot of great artists that weren't recognized they were great artists until after they were dead and gone. And the idea of what social commentary should be about. There was a documentary that PBS did a few years back, like I want to say like 20 years ago, called The Merchants of Cool, which talked about all the convergences of the record label companies and the soft drink companies and the media companies, and how they're all owned by each other and how they're all feeding each other. So when you see somebody like, I know, our brother-in-law, son-in-law, Kevin, he rails against somebody like Katy Perry because it's entirely manufactured. Or who's the Adam, what's his face, in Maroon 5. That those are manufactured bands.
Levine, yeah.
Yeah, and that's not new. There were manufactured bands back in the day. You had the Monkees; they had a TV show that was completely manufactured band.
Look at the MTV days in like the '80s, with just like all these carbon copies of band after band after band after band after band.
But I mean, who's the ones that are really the artists that last? And I'm sorry if you look at the stuff that's out there, I don't know how long it lasts, but they're making money hand over fist beyond anything that's ever been available before. So, God bless her. I'm not saying she shouldn't make money. She figured it out. Somebody figured it out and put it out there, and she's making millions, and that's fine. That's the way the world works. But it is this convergence of media companies and knowing, that the nerds, the algorithm nerds run the planet, and they know how to do this and do that. So here she comes with a flamboyant, over-the-top video, and voila, everybody's bank account's getting filled. Okay, that's fine. Just call it what it is. Don't turn around and say, wow, you need to get on board with this, and if you've got a problem with it, we're going to use that, just like this, this article. We're going to use that to even drive it further. So now Russell Brand's out there, and he's getting a props from it in terms of that, or controversy, and he's getting hits. And the whole idea of influencers makes me want to just blow my brains out, because it's not whether you have any content. And we didn't even talk about it in the Cardi B video, The bigger controversy is that Kylie Jenner's in it. And,
That whole fucking family.
And she's being criticized because it's like the typical white girl that just strolls in and gets all her props because she's white. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's what you're going to complain about?
That's it. Because that's
the problem you have?
That's what the Jenner family sits around and talks about or whatever. I can't wait for South Park to get into this.
Oh God. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, just again, talk about guys who consistently don't give a shit.
Right.
Just about anybody. Fuck all of you, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm in that camp. I'm like, you know what? F all of you. Absolutely every one of you. Don't come out and tell me how great everything is. It's everybody's on the make. Everybody's on the hustle.
You know, it's going to be something where it's like
Cartman
Cartman is the one who just films the music video and it goes viral. It's going to be some Cartman doing some version of that song.
But they, you know, for those guys, for the South Park guys, they've got to be just loving it because they don't have to do anything to come up with material. They don't have to do anything.
You got to watch the documentary 7 Days to Air, showing them. Oh, it's great.
I'm not saying
watching them in the writer's room, watching them just like go back and forth.
I'm not saying it's easy to put on the show.
No,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if the genesis of it is the idea, right, and what's going to be about this week, there's endless amounts of stupid shit out there that makes it easy for these guys to do that.
Yeah.
So we live in a world of stupid shit. Don't see the tax collector. Save your $7.99.
And listen to Russell Brand.
But keep your eye
yes.
on Shia LaBeouf. He's the Ed Norton of the year 2020, and he's going to do a movie here that blows us all away.
Oh, he will. Yeah. It's too bad it just wasn't that one.
It's not going to be that one.
All right.
All right, man.
And with that,
peace out. Episode 1 in the bag. We will keep stretching this out and seeing how fun we can make it. So thanks for watching.
All right. Catch you later.
Bye.